Hey, what's up, everyone? Good evening. Happy Chinese New Year as well, everyone. Welcome to the new season of Gadget Pilipinas Live, which we know is now Blip Bytes. This season, we will be live on YouTube, but you can continue to listen whichever podcast platform you prefer. I am today's host, Ram Ronquillo. I am the resident news desk editor of tech at Gadget Pilipinas. I'm joined by Mr. Emman, the editor-in-chief at Gadget Pilipinas. What's up, Emman?
Ganun.
Of course.
Hello. The
And we
same
have
with you, no? Okay. Mm,
Grant Soriano,
mm.
PC review lead at Gadget Pilipinas. Sup, Grant?
Cheers. Ayun,
Wow.
drinking my coffee.
Wow. Coffee at this hour. Bold man, bold man. This season we will also be joined by our new tech news writer, Migs Pilipinas. But currently he is recovering. He got sick recently. Get well soon, Migs. I hope you're listening. How's everyone? How was your New Year? How was the holiday break? Emman, how you doing?
Good. Really good. I also, well, eto, nakabalik lang from, COVID. So,
Yeah.
this week, no, nakabalik lang natin sa work. So far, okay naman. Enjoying the new office.
Yeah, and congratulations.
Yep. And yeah, all good, all good. Balik na sa busy work.
Yeah. Back to
Yan.
business. Ikaw,
Yep.
Grant, kamusta?
Ayun, same with Emman, just recovered from COVID-19. Sakto yung timing.
Congrats.
And of course, back to work na din as you can see. On my, I think this my right, yeah, kasi inverted yung camera. On my right, ito yung trabahong sumalubong, which we'll be discussing actually later. But yeah, okay, so far so good. Happy to be back with the new podcast, no? Masaya siya. Exciting.
Exciting. How exciting. So tonight, if you guys didn't know, we'll be talking about mobile and desktop gaming demands. But, because that's a big and broad topic, we're pinning it down to the RTX 3050 and our RX 6500 XT. Choices on what to pick, when you're building, when you're on a budget, as well as our expectations on the upcoming Galaxy S22 series. Before we get into it, we are giving away a Redmi Watch 2 Lite at tonight's YouTube live.
Yes.
Tonight lang siya sa mga nakikinig sa podcast. Baka ma-confuse sila. To join, be sure to leave a comment and share the stream on Facebook with the hashtag Blip Bytes EP1. Don't forget to set your post to public. We will be announcing the winner this week on YouTube. Okay, with that out of the way, that was a lot. So,
Yeah.
Grant, fill us in on what's going down and what are what's with budget GPUs today.
Okay, so for those who missed the CES announcements, NVIDIA and AMD both released their budget contender graphics cards, which is the RTX 3050 for NVIDIA and RX 6500 XT for AMD. Now, I personally have mixed feelings for this for a number of reasons. But at the same time, I'm very excited to see what kind of builds that we can get from these graphics cards. No, but before I dive in, I want to ask so is it medium high ganyan. So let's start with of course Mr. New World RAM.
I currently have an RTX card, but I don't use it. I don't use ray tracing because a lot of the games that I play either don't have ray tracing or it's just not something at like for the game to run smoothly on my system, because my processor isn't the best. I'd rather just run it regularly. And again, stuff I play New World, as far as I know, it doesn't have ray tracing. So there's that for me. So it really isn't a big deal. It's more of like the raw performance of the cards for me.
Okay, so for settings, what do you have for your settings? Do you max it out every time you have a new
Ooh,
game?
it depends on the game. It depends on the game for me. Usually, if it's a game that's pretty light as far as processor load goes, I max it out. But for games like New World, where it's really taxing on the processor, I usually put it as low as I can, just to be safe.
Okay, so how about you, Eman?
Uh, well, if the game supports it, then I usually just turn it on, no? Uh, the last game that I played that actually had support for ray tracing, I think was Watch Dogs Legion.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, hindi ko na siya nilalaro ngayon, but when when I used to play it, I always turn RTX on kasi sayang naman, 'di ba? I mean, I have I have a 3080, so I have to, maximize the card's potential. And so far kaya naman siya, no? Unfortunately, the game that I recently played, Tales of Arise,
Mhm.
I don't think it supports RTX yet,
Yeah.
no? But it looks good on its own, no? So I guess my settings, if I can max it out on non-competitive games, no, non-esports games, I guess. If I
Mhm.
can max it out sa mga single player, ganyan, then that's fine, no? Because I wanna see, kaya ako nga binili yung 3080 para dyan, di ba? Sayang naman kung hindi ko yung max out, di ba?
Tama
Ah,
naman.
yun. Yun. So, if I can, I would. Ganon.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So for me, for my number one question, how often do I use ray tracing or DLSS? In my case, I only play with RTX.
Mhm.
So for some or at paper, I believe a lot of people are excited, no? Kasi, oy, it's ray tracing, it's DLSS and all the other features at a very low cost. But
Mhm.
the thing is, when the embargo for the review came out, a lot of reviews pointed out that its performance is roughly behind the RTX 2060, GTX 1660 Super. So it's basically somewhat in between the 1650 Super and 1660. Now, what does that mean? Well, for Western countries, not much because even though if there's scalping issues there,
Mhm.
cards are priced very close to the SRP, or basically it's still SRP if you can get them at stores like Best Buy. But
Mhm.
in the case of other countries, especially here in the Philippines, uh, our local SRP does not follow the US SRP. Plus, we also have attacks for heavily branded cards such as the ROG Strix variant, or if you go
Mhm.
for the closely related one, which is the Ino 3D, which I have right here.
Mhm.
So again, going back, the value of DLSS or RTX for me is somehow diminished because I don't get high enough frame rates in the first place to enjoy the card. And for the case of RTX, I don't have that much FPS to spare, no? Kasi if turn on RTX, regardless of which card do you have, it will have a performance impact. So that said, parang it's hard to get an RTX 3050 just for the sake of the ray tracing. But because it currently has an SRP of 15,000, but as far as local stores are concerned, no, yung mga nakikita ko, it's priced around 19,000. So it's relatively close to the RTX 2060 that we have. So the RTX 2060 is a relatively old GPU, no, which is replaced by the 3060, but it still gets the job done, especially in raw performance.
Mhm.
And that's where the debate comes in, whether you get an old card or a new card like this one. So for now, if you're aiming for a post or a day one release or launch month video card, the RTX 3050 is not that much of a good upgrade, especially if you're coming from the 1650 or lower or 1050 Ti even. But if you're
Oh
building a new
wow.
PC, as in yung pinaka-budget na kaya nyo, i5, i3, or Ryzen 3, Ryzen 5, and pair it with a 3050, then it's good. I think believe it's good enough even with the higher SRP that we have here in the Philippines. So where does the RX 6500 XT come in? The RX 6500 XT has a slightly lower SRP at 13,000, but local stores are pricing it at 15,000. So there's a 5K difference. The thing is, even though that the RX 6500 XT has the lower cost and RDNA2 architecture, which basically can run RTX and DL or RTX and their own form of DLSS, which is Fidelity FX resolution.
Mhm.
It also can't keep up with the RTX 3050, and if it can't keep up with the RTX 3050, then it definitely can't keep up with the existing cards that we have, such as the 1650, 1650 Super, or the previous AMD RX 5600 XT. So that's a lot of
Where-
graphic GPUs, no? So basically, what I'm trying to say is, if you're coming from a lower end card or a previous card, a previous
Mhm.
generation graphics card,
Mhm.
it's not worth the upgrade to get these new ones. But if you're building a new PC, buy ahead. I mean, go ahead and get one. Now, for the case, if you want to go for the premium for the RTX 3050 or go for the lower GPU, the RX 6500 XT, that will depend on the games that you will play, no? So, I was one of the early adopters for the RTX graphics cards, no? I used to play DLSS and RTX on Battlefield games, but then
Mhm.
again, the performance impact was too high for me uh
To run it
to appreciate
consistently.
it,
Okay.
or because I prefer high frame rates over
Yeah.
smooth graphics, or high frame rates over better graphics,
Yeah.
especially in
In
competitive titles.
shooters.
So it's a very tough choice, no? It's not just a uh no-brainer scenario where you get green versus red. So my advice is for those wanting to get these GPUs or wanting to build a PC is wait for our build guides. Yes, it's a shameless plug, but the thing is,
That makes
uh,
sense.
what I'm happy about our build guides is we have the components themselves, so we get to benchmark it. So in turn, as you, the reader, the viewer, or as you,
The
the
listeners.
audience,
Yeah.
can get a performance estimate, diba? So, for example, if you're aiming to play Valorant and, for example, the system managed to output 100 FPS, are you happy with the 100 FPS, especially if you're pairing it with the 144 hertz monitor? Yes or no? At least from that experience, or for us being the first ones to try, you can easily adjust your build beforehand, diba? There's no buyer's remorse once you get to buy your build. And that's why you have to wait for our build guides. But yeah,
Question for you though.
these new GPUs naman are a sign that hopefully the market is going better.
Mhm.
Plus the competitiveness, no, from these brands is only benefiting us, the consumers, no. So at the end of the day, as long as you're happy with your purchase, go for it. But of course, use available resources that you have, no? So I keep looking at the cards kasi iniisip ko, will these cards prove me wrong in the long term? But of course, yun nga, talking
Mhm.
about long term, these cards may reduce in price, which will also uh, affect our opinion later on, no? So if you're planning to get one in the distant future naman, not the near future,
Mhm.
wait for our updated build guides. And of course, diba, if there's no build guide yet, feel free to message us on our page, not to ask.
if
And
if
yeah,
if I were to ask
yes,
you as a consumer, um, if I say like I want to choose between RTX 3050 or RX 6500 XT, like no context, just
no
between the two
context.
cards, which would you go for?
I'd automatically recommend the RTX 3050 mainly because of its features. No, even if there's the argument that I won't get to use it because I believe in the saying it's better to have it than not need it than to need it but not have it.
Wait. So slow that down just one bit.
Yes.
One more time, but kind of slow it down a bit.
It's better to have it than not
Okay.
need it than to
Uh-huh.
need it but not have it.
Yeah, that makes
Diba?
sense. That makes sense.
And I think for this, ayun na, to add, I think for the first time viewers, no,
Mhm.
I think they're the ones to first try ray tracing and DLSS on hand and see the experience, no. Kahit sabihin mong isang beses lang gamitin.
Mhm.
For the first time you turn it on, the experience is really profound, no, especially kung well executed yan sa game like Battlefield, uh, Tomb Raider, ano pa bang magagandang RTX games? Metro Exodus,
Mhm.
Cyberpunk. So ayun. And I think for ayun nga, for the upcoming AAA titles naman, there's a widespread adoption, no? So we'll never know if we end
That's
up using it at all, 'di ba? So there's that. And ayun, as long as the budget permits naman for the extra 5K.
Mhm.
But yeah. I was supposed to ask you guys kung ano kung mag-upgrade ba kayo dito but you already have stronger cards. So
Yeah, exactly.
wag na.
Maybe it's something we can ask our viewers if we have any viewers that are planning to build right now. Will anyone pick up either which one did you choose actually? RTX 3050 or RX 6500 XT? If there's
Yes,
anyone
so
in chat that's
Or
planning to build.
or pag-ipunan niyo na lang yung next year.
there's always
Ah,
that. Kung kaya pa
ah,
ng 1050 Ti nyo, 'di ba?
Oo, 'di ba?
Oh,
If
Yeah.
hindi naman gano'n kaimportante sa'yo yung kung maliit lang naman yung difference, I mean,
Mhm.
if you can hold it out, no? I think a lot of people are holding out, no? Ngayon.
yeah.
I mean, if you actually look at some of the reviews, no, online, mababasa mo yung mga comment, people with 750 Ti's, 1050
Mm.
Ti's,
Mm.
1030's are still, holding on to their. So talagang matindihang topic, no? Talaga hindi kasi I mean, let's face it, talagang yung presyo naman kasi talaga ngayon, it's really, it's mahirap,
Mhm.
mahirap siya. So yun, I wouldn't, I wouldn't really blame those guys, no, for just
Yeah.
keeping the cards, no. Pero so
Yeah.
long as yung kaya pa naman, go. No?
Yes.
That's true. To
Oo.
to be
Oo.
honest, my sister uses my old build, and that has a 750 Ti, I think.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Oo
my
nga.
sister who's in chat as well.
Oo.
While I'm at it,
Hello.
I will say hi to
Oo.
people in chat. Let's say hi to John Stephen Reyes, who's always there. Zoro 18. I have friends. I have friends who dropped by from New World who I'm not sure if they're still here. What's up,
Parang may
Ams?
nakita ko kanina.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What's
Hi,
up,
guys.
Ams? Aaron's. Those the ones I've seen. GQ Gaming, how you doing? Of course, there's our friend Jam. Jam is somewhere there. I saw.
Hello.
What's up, Jam? JB Aquino, I think, was also there. OMG Louis is also there. What's up, OMG Louis? Um,
Diyan bili ka na ng upuan mo. Mahirap yan.
that's true. Also, hi Clark Alonto, who lives with Grant, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Or
Si Boss,
neighbor.
Watching from the same
si Boss
house.
Clark.
Kulang lang sumilip si Clark sa buksan
Yeah,
yung
dito,
pintuan.
live viewer.
Pati kay Louis Johnson from Yugatech. Oh yeah, siya nga si GQ Gaming. What's up kay Gino Killimore, old governor in New World.
The Gino.
And the Gino Killimore.
Yeah. Wow.
And then there's Migs in chat. What's up, Migs? Hope you're doing well.
Get well soon.
Yeah, get well soon. If you guys have any questions for Grant, leave it down in the comment section. We'll get back to you
Yep.
while we're chilling out and hanging out right now.
Actually, yeah, Emman mentioned earlier kasi yung pag-ipunan mo na lang in the future, and then I suddenly remembered the Crisis 4 meme, di ba? Kasi Crisis 4 got
Yeah.
announced.
Yeah.
Yung, I forgot what that was, but yung meme was the 750 Ti, 1050 Ti, 980 Ti. Yung boss, I'm tired. So yun. So kung kaya pa, going back, kung kaya pa ng graphics card nyo, then I guess we don't see the reason on why you should upgrade, no? But then again, kung hindi na kaya, if you're dropping frames below 60 FPS, pikit mata mo na, no? What is money? Paper only.
Tsaka check
Iron
nyo din.
heart, add to cart. When
Check
in
nyo
doubt,
din
click check out.
Check nyo din yung ibang parts, no? Syempre, hindi lang naman GPU.
Yes, hindi lang naman
Hindi lang
GPU.
naman GPU ang
Exactly.
So check nyo, baka naman 2 gig lang yung RAM nyo, kaya naman pala kayo hindi.
Actually,
gagapang
speaking, I have a friend na nilason ko kasi mag-upgrade kasi nasira yung 1650 niya. This was 2 days ago. Nasira yung 1650 niya, then naghahanap siya ng GPU na around 20K. Tapos sabi ko, RTX 2060 lang yung nandyan eh. Tapos tawag doon, parang hindi sulit sa 20K. Sabi ko, mag-RTX 3060 Ti ka na lang. 35K naka-sale. Which is, sabi ko, okay na yung 35K kasi nga, it's relatively close to the launch SRP at around parang mga 33,000 to 28,000 yung high and low niya. And ayun, kumagat siya. Then nilason ko na din with the new power supply. Kumagat din siya. Tapos sinatry nila, bakit 30 FPS pa rin ako sa Far Cry? Kasi yun yung issue niya with the 1650. 30 FPS pa rin siya sa Far Cry. And then, all along, yun pala, yung 16 gig RAM niya na nakakabit, 8 gig lang yung nakasaksak ng maayos.
Yun naman
So,
pala
the other 8 gig is lighting up, pero yun nga, hindi siya, diba? Hindi siya nababasa ng system. So, napa-upgrade siya ng parang part na hindi niya naman pala kailangan.
Yeah.
All along, RAM naman pala yung problema.
Napa-upgrade na wala.
Hindi ako problem. I'm not a problem, guys. Excuse me.
Memory module.
Tingnan nyo rin yung monitor nyo. Baka naman 60 Hz yan, kaya hindi kayo maka 140 po.
Ayun. So, yeah, aside from the GPU nga, there's other parts that you can upgrade.
To be honest, I think the worst thing that will be the problem is the processor. Because if once your processor is a problem, that means you need a new motherboard. There's like a big chunk of money.
Yes, kaya kailangan mo ng bagong motherboard. And especially right now, 'di ba, you have DDR5 and DDR4 options, no? And if you read our reviews, malalaman nyo kung anong motherboard choices are the right one for you, no? Especially we have the B660 reviews, no, up on our website, no. One DDR4 in the form of the MSI Mag Mortar B660M and one DDR5 in the form of the ROG6 B660M. So if you're interested in seeing the results, no, especially it's the same chipset on DDR4 versus DDR5, you can get an idea on the performance difference. But of course, as Emman has been convincing me to make a DDR5 versus DDR4 article, kaso sobrang mahal ng DDR5 eh. Yung inaantay ko na Trident ZZ5. Side story ulit. Yung Trident ZZ5 na inaantay ko is I think DDR4 6400 MHz. DDR5 6400 MHz for a 32 gig kit. Tapos yung presyo niya parang nasa 28,000. So kasing price na siya ng 12,900K. And the average price for DDR5 32 gig na 5200 megahertz kit yung gamit natin sa test bench is only 18,000. So, sobrang grabe ng price difference.
Maaga pa eh. It's
Grabe.
too early.
Yeah, that's the price of the early adopter.
Pasalawin yung Muse Dash. Sige. Diba?
Ano tong Gian Carlo Viterbo sa stream, sir?
Lalawin mo Muse Dash, lalawin mo Solitaire na.
Totoo.
Pingi pong RTX 3090 Kuya Grant. No, sobrang malas kasi of all the cards that we have dito sa Gadget Pilipinas, RTX 3090 lang yung wala tayo. So, di ba,
Kompleto na sana.
NVIDIA.
Nga pala, speaking of which,
baka naman. Yes.
speaking of which, I guess I have two questions. No? Do you think, kasi I think there have been rumors of TI, a 3090 Ti.
Mhm.
I just heard it the other day from another channel. Do you think they will release it soon? And then the second question is, ano yung projection mo for from your own do you think that GPU prices will finally go down to a reasonable level this year?
This year. Okay. So,
First
first off, sige, we are going for the RTX 3090 Ti. I believe they announced it na, pero parang paper announcement pa lang, wala pang
Yep.
availability.
Teaser lang.
And I think it's just a flex na lang for NVIDIA to release the to release the 3090 Ti. Kasi the 3090 itself is borderline workstation GPU na with its 24 gig VRAM.
Yeah.
Wow, what more with the 3090 Ti? And parang at 4K resolution or at the current builds or systems that we have, parang yung extra performance difference ng 3090 Ti will boil down to if you also have the top-notch components to pair with it. Especially kung meron ka nung DDR5 6400 MHz na sinabi ko kanina. If you can afford the 3090 Ti, why not, 'di ba? But then again, ayun nga, I believe it's just a flex by NVIDIA, no, na kasi nga 'di ba, you have Intel coming up with the new GPU and AMD teasing their next generation graphics cards na din last CES. I think it's a flex, but then again, the NVIDIA's release cycle kasi is every 2 years, and this year is the second year of the RTX graphics cards, no, and we finally have the RTX 3050, which is basically the lowest end card that they can offer, unless maglalabas sila ng RTX 3050 Ti pa before they release the RTX 4000, di ba?
Mga super.
Yeah. Mga super pa kasi the last revision was super na, puro super lahat. Then before super, TI. And then ngayon, may kasabay na tayo na TI, may kasabay pa na super. And hindi lang RTX 3090 Ti actually yung na-release. You also have the RTX 3080 12 gig variant. So basically plus 2 gig more, di ba? And I believe that's for a certain market na din, no, yung gusto ng 3090 workstation level but can't afford, can go for the 12 gig variant of the 3080.
I think another big question.
It's for another.
I think another big question is will people be able to get their hands on those cards?
Yeah, and ayun nga,
Diba?
yeah,
Diba?
going din na din dun sa GPU prices will finally go down.
Okay yan. Good news yan.
Parang it's hard to be that optimistic kasi kahit sabihin mong bumababa yung cryptocurrency space, you still have a shortage, no, which ayun nga, umabot na din sa mobile phones na ultimo phones na apektuhan kasi dati it's just the main markets were only cars and of course electronics like GPUs. Hindi pa masyado yung phones, electronic siya. And ayun, siguro bababa siya but not as much kasi sabihin mong mga 2,000 off, 3,000 off, or if you're building a new PC, maybe you could get 5,000 pesos off.
Bundle, no?
So,
Mga bundle.
but then if you're just going to buy, yun nga, RTX 3070, 3080, Hindi because the demand is still there na not for mining but the demand for gamers, especially yung yun nga yung mga nasa gitnang cards, sila yung nag-o-offer kasi ng the best price to performance, no? Kahit pa sabihin mong may TI, may super or may lower end card, not lower end, lower generation, last generation graphics cards.
May Pro Max.
Yeah. So, kulang na lang pati pa RTX 3090 Pro.
Pro Max.
But ayun nga, yes, they could definitely go down, but not going back to the SRP, no, the previous SRP. Like for example, RTX 3070 at 25K lang. Hindi.
Parang panaginip na lang yan.
Yeah, RTX, magkano yung kuha natin sa 3080 natin when we bought it? Around 35 to 41K, di ba?
Oo.
Ako 41K ko nakuha, si Boss Gian 35K.
48
Kasi ano yun, inabangan niya yun sa 12 o'clock lunch.
Grabe,
So,
no?
Alam mo
Yeah.
talking about that, no?
Mhm.
At that time, that was December 2020 when I got my 3080, no?
Yes.
Buti na lang. Yun yung, it's like one of the best decisions
Purchases of the year.
I made in my life. No? Kasi kung hindi ko siya binili at that time, because I got
Scalper
advice.
price.
I got advice that prices will go down January, no? So I was really holding on to it, no? I was looking at prices, sabi ko, mahal pa din, almost 50K pa din. Pero I saw the cheapest was around 48K, no? And when I got it, and then I saw that prices skyrocketed the year after, sabi ko, buti na lang, sabi ko. Buti na lang I was able to catch the tail end of the medyo normal pang presyo, no?
Yeah.
Patong na yan, ang laki na ng patong nun, 48. Di ba? Pero sabi ko, oh God, buti na lang, sabi ko.
Yeah, kasi right now 48K RTX 3070.
Oo. Ngayon ata, pumapalo ng mga 50, 60, 70 yung mga magagandang klaseng 3080, di ba? Yung mga, man.
Yeah, kaya buy now, worry later. Is our favorite motto.
Well, depends. You can, if you have insight on prices, you probably could wait. Assuming, it tells you that it's pretty good or should go down soon. We have, by the way, guys, we have a lot of these articles, like the one you see right now, which is a chip shortage article by Migs, as well as the one about the 3090 Ti. If you guys haven't, if you haven't shared, don't forget to share the stream tonight at tonight's YouTube live on your Facebook. Don't forget to put it on public and include the hashtag Blip Bytes EP1. That's Blip Bytes BLIP Bytes BYTES in EP1, and also tag Gadget Pilipinas. Why not? So now that we're done with coming from desktop gaming, right? What we also play on our devices now a lot. And one of the big phones, well, one of the biggest manufacturers that came out recently with their chipsets is Samsung, who released their Samsung Exynos 2200, which if I remember correctly, Mr. Gian Viterbo mentioned it in WIT, which you guys can check out every Thursday on Gadget Pilipinas YouTube, where he does a rundown of the news. But moving on to that, the Exynos 2200 is most likely going to power the upcoming Galaxy S22 series, and which is our next topic because I think it's one of the biggest flagships that's coming out soon-ish, as in Feb 9, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think. But early February is when it's gonna come out. So it's gonna come out like soon.
Malapit na.
Yeah.
It's that time of the year, guys.
It's that time of the year, exactly. This is Samsung time. So I think one of the things which a lot of people, not only us, not only the viewers, the listeners, and everyone tuning in, is what can we expect from the Samsung Galaxy S22 series? And I personally, I guess I'll start this off since I'm here now. I think it's gonna be a good bump as far as performance goes. I'm not sure about the Exynos 2200 exactly, but the Exynos 2200, the biggest thing about it is it has an AMD RDNA 2 architecture GPU, which should be a good bump in graphics, but it should bring interesting tech into the phone. However, we're not sure about the exact performance in with on like powering a device, because that's usually the like it's good to see on paper that it's a good chipset, but it's another thing to see it on an actual device that runs. Because that's when you run into problems like slowing down or heating, which I think for many years has been a problem of an Exynos chip. I'm not sure if they've figured that out. Um, but yeah, I think it's gonna be an interesting series. Based on the teasers as well. Um, uh, Doctor Doctor TM Ro mentioned that it's gonna be a notable launch. I remember writing this article on Gadget Pilipinas. The quote was, "It's gonna be notable," and I'm like, "Huh? Are we talking about Note the series, which she did not introduce last year? Are you finally merging the S series and the Note series?"
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that I'm most excited for, is to see the new features of the Samsung Galaxy S22 series. Because honestly, for me, as someone who, as long as the device works, I'm fine with it. And as long as it runs smoothly for me, it takes good photos, I'm good with it.
Mm, mm,
I'm mostly looking forward to what it brings new to the table, rather than the hardware performance. So
mm.
I'm interested to see the features and what it brings.
Right.
And one thing that I think it's gonna bring with it, as far as my expectation, is it's gonna it's gonna have the S Pen like
Mm.
inside.
It
It's
should.
gonna be a bam, a merge of the Galaxy Note and the Galaxy S series.
Yes.
That's what
Mm,
I'm. That's my
mm,
expectation.
mm.
Camera wise, I think it's gonna be. It should keep up. It's an S series device. I have they added in anything interesting the past series? Like tech wise,
Mm,
mm, it's kind of hard to tell, because there's a lot of new sensors coming out that on paper seem like a downgrade, but performance wise is better.
mm,
So I'd prefer to see what's gonna
mm,
happen with the photos of the
mm,
device.
mm.
What do you think, Mr. Emman? What do you expect of the
Ah,
S22?
well, the thing is kasi with Samsung, no, as far as their history is concerned, no, regarding these phones, they have like a TikTok, TikTok launch cycle, no.
Mm,
Para silang it's like for example, the S10,
mm,
it's a top. So it's not parang it's only incremental. It's not
yeah,
a major. And then the S21 was, I guess, the major one, the thick.
yeah.
So for this one, if I actually look at kasi there's, of course, alam niyo naman guys, every single time there's gonna be a launch,
Mm,
you can expect that there will be leaks, no?
mhm,
And of course, the specs of the S22 series, hindi pa natin alam usually, but of course, there have been leaks about it, no? So I sort of made an Excel spreadsheet with the projected specifications of the devices. No, these are not the official specs, of course. Ito lang yung parang rumors, no, of what their specs are. So if you actually compare it to say the S21 series, no, medyo you can tell that some things are very incremental. No? Hindi, it's really not the big upgrade that you would expect, no, from kasi nga talk siya, it's not the thick, it's talk. So yun. Which is so sort of it's expected na hindi ganun kalaki yung differences, no. But I guess the one of the major areas that you can look at is of course the SoC. It's a new SoC. Yun. So again, I agree with Ram, no. It's a very interesting SoC because it has an AMD GPU, no. And of course, it will be the more I think I guess the bigger question is what do we get here in the Philippines? Kasi of course, Samsung is known to have two variants of its phones. No? Depende kung saan market ka. No? If you're in the US, you get the Snapdragon variant usually. No? And then if you're another market like sa atin, usually we get the Exynos. No? So, ang question dyan is how much of the gap, no? Kasi there's been a known gap between the Snapdragon and the Exynos variants of the previous S series phones, no? In terms of, performance. So it will be interesting to know how much have they bridged, no? How much of that gap has been closed down, no? With this release, no? With the new SoC. In terms of display, you can probably kasi you can let's face it. I mean, there's really not much. Parang if you're gonna look at ano ba yung magiging specs ng phone, parang ano na alam mo na no? Because ano pa ba yung itatakbo ano pa ba yung iaangat ng display, di ba? Siyempre, for 120, 144 or something like that, no? Yun naman yan, unless they have something up their sleeves, no? Surprise, no? Of course, it's an AMOLED display, no? You get, the same amount of RAM, 8 gig, 12 gig, at least what it says, no? Almost the same. No, camera-wise, it looks like Samsung is also again focusing on that zooming capability, no? In terms of, especially for the S21, S22 Ultra, no? Kasi the rumors say that meron na naman siyang dalawang telephoto lens. Dalawa na naman. So there's 3x and there's 10x. And that's actually the same setup as the S21 Ultra. Ang pinagkaiba siguro lang yan, baka ibang sensor lang yung gamit nila. And of course, you're using another SoC kasi, so the ISP is different. So it could be better, no? Well, you can expect that it will be better. But how much better, I guess, is the question. How much better? Is the question. And then another interesting thing to to know, I guess, is magkakaroon ba ng adjustments dun sa SRP. Kasi given the chip shortage that's happening, no? Some parts might have, baka mas mahal gawin, 'di ba? So, it's gonna be interesting ano yung magiging starting SRPs ng mga bagong phone. If you actually look at I believe we wrote an article about it, yung render or yung picture mismo nung what was supposedly the S22 Ultra, no? Para na siyang mukha na nga siyang Note actually.
Yeah.
No, mukha na siyang Note, no? Even yung unahan niya, yung likod niya, mukha na talaga siyang Note. What's interesting about it is parang, as far as I can tell, nawala yung parang yung camera bump. I think it has parang
It's smaller based on renders. It's
parang
smaller than the
hindi na siya ganun ka protruding, no? So that was like one of the kinks. I don't know if it's a kink, no, but it's one of the things that was so notable about the S21 Ultra was the
Yeah.
camera bump. Ang laki
Yeah.
talaga. and I mean, it was there for a reason, no? Dahil malaki yung sensor
Yung
that time.
sensors, yeah.
Nilagay nila. So they really couldn't do anything about it, I guess, from a design standpoint. So it's gonna be interesting ngayon. Kung mas maliit na yung camera bump, will it be able to perform better, or maybe they found a way to, put in a bigger sensor in a smaller body or something,
Yeah.
the magic that these guys can do. Alam mo naman yung ano. So yun. You can, I guess you can, you can expect a performance bump, probably a bump on the display. But so far, comparing the expected specs, no, parang they're almost the same. FHD yung dalawa sa baba, 20 yung plus tsaka yung usual, yung normal, and then the Ultra has 3080 by 1440, no? And probably same refresh rate, 144, I think, 144 or 120.
Yeah.
And yeah, battery, I'm not sure if accurate yung of course this is just a leak, no, but medyo maliit yung battery ng S22. It's below 4,000, no, milliamp hour, and then 4,500 and then 5,000. Medyo lumiit, no, compared to sa before. Yung Ultra lang yung mas yung same. IP rating, it wasn't mentioned sa leaks kasi kung it will have the same IP68 rating as the previous gen, no? But to some people kasi that's a big thing.
Totoo.
Kasi some people take their phones to, their adventures wherever they go.
Or tipong pawisin ka lang.
Oo, gano'n. Or talagang maulan lang sa lugar niyo, gano'n, no?
Parang dito sa Pilipinas.
Oo. Oo, no. Anyway, magsa-summer naman na, so siguro but anyway, yun, preparing for the future, kumbaga. Another thing is expandable storage. It's been slowly disappearing from other phones,
Flagships. Yeah.
other brands, no. And the S21 didn't have it, no, walang expandable storage. So it will be interesting if they'll bring it back or wala na talaga. Yun. So those are probably of course, there will be probably other quote unquote features, no, software wise.
Yeah.
Bago One UI probably. And yun nga, may stylus support na yung S21 Ultra, diba? So
Yeah.
it's gonna be interesting if they're gonna parang kasi dati the stylus support was just for the Ultra. So it will also be interesting to find out kung if they'll bring the stylus support to the other S22 devices din, no? Para maka-experience din naman yung mga hindi maka-afford ng Ultra ng S Pen, diba?
Do you think it will be built in or parang connects magnetically? What do you think?
Sana may compartment for it, no?
Yeah.
But then again, if you ang ano kasi doon is like if you put that sa S22, edi sana tinawag mo na ng Note. Ganun yung Note, di ba? That was like the key feature of the Note. Meron siyang compartment for the S Pen.
Yeah.
But then again, pag hindi mo naman ginawa yun, the problem is parang it will be easy to lose the S Pen.
Yeah.
No?
Late pa man din nun.
Late pa man din yun. And it's not cheap. No, if you lose it, I guess it's not cheap, no? Lalo na pag binili mo yung, kasi di ba last time meron parang pro version ba tayo ng pen.
Yeah.
But there's like two versions of it. No? There's like two versions of it. So I'm guessing the other one isn't cheap, no? Yung
Pro.
isa, whatever that variant is called, I forgot. So yun yung mga issues that Samsung will have to tackle. No?
Yeah.
Another thing is, oops, okay, sorry, kilay ko. Namatay yung kilay ko. Hindi ko kasi na fully charge. So, pero ganda pa rin naman yung tsura.
Yeah, of course. Emman yun eh.
Hindi man lang highlighting, di ba?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Go.
Yun. Yun. And It's been, I guess, integration with their ecosystem. It's also gonna be interesting if they're gonna release another pair of buds, a new watch. Yan yung mga laging kasama niyan eh. No?
Totoo.
Pag nag-release si Samsung, laging ganyan eh. Set yan eh.
Mm.
Pero napansin ko the last few releases ganun lagi eh. Merong
Yeah.
kadikit na watch tsaka merong kadikit na na tawag doon, buds.
Of
And
course.
rumor has it then that there's a new tablet, no? So yun.
The S8, yeah.
Tingnan natin kung ano. So yun, it'll be, one thing that's for sure is it's gonna be a very exciting launch, no? It
That's
always
true.
has been, no? When
That's
Samsung launches, they really put everything on it.
Everything,
So
yeah.
talagang production value and everything, talagang you can expect that maganda yung may itsura niya.
Mm.
Now the product will have to speak for itself, no? When
That's true.
if we even get our hands on it. So yeah, hopefully.
How about you, Grant? Knowing that there's an AMD RDNA2 architecture GPU, do you think that changes anything?
Well, I think it depends if may kasamang if there's going to be some technology implementation, no, that comes from PC. Kasi kung architecture lang yan,
Mm.
I see more benefit for laptops rather than phones versus the other
Okay.
way around, which I explain later. Pero kung yun nga, if it's just the technology on the phone, parang not so much. But if they're bringing in some exclusives, like, okay, so how do you implement the AMD Fidelity FX on mobile, diba?
Mm.
There are also game publishers from PC that are also releasing games on mobile, such as Ubisoft, ganyan, diba? Which is an AMD partner. So, if meron nga yun, then Samsung will have an edge in gaming, diba? Even though
Definitely.
na wala silang gaming phones, even if they
Mm.
don't have the gaming phones, the gaming features, but the core or the the main heart of the phone itself has the gaming feature, no? Which is yun nga, not every brand can copy since it's on the Exynos chipset. But ayun nga, going back dun sa if it's only the technology, I'd be more excited on laptops kasi if they manage to pull something or produce that kind of high performance chip in a very very low wattage or low voltage
Device.
device,
Yep.
kasi nga 4,000 milliamps ganun lang yung battery ng mga phones, 5,000. Then I'm excited to see the efficiency it will bring on laptops, no? So, kasi 'di ba, for battery life, I believe yung pinaka longest battery life that I've tested was an AMD notebook na 14 hours. So if they're scaling it down to a much smaller package, a much more power efficient, then we could see a literal 24-hour laptop,
Mm.
no? And for me, to be honest, in games and the way I see mobiles, kasi I'm more of a PC guy.
Yep.
Kasi I don't play talaga sa phone. The most time I spent playing on a game is Minesweeper pa sa phone, 'di ba? Hindi pa kailangan ng kahit ano yun. Pag nasa CR ako, Minesweeper. 9x9 tiles. Pero yun nga, with the way I see phones kasi, ang bilis na life cycle niya, the performance improvement is, of course, 10%. Mas malaki yung jump niya over desktop, sabihin natin, on
Yeah.
year or generation and generation, mas malaki talaga yung jump niya percentage-wise versus desktops. Yun nga, that said, there aren't many demanding apps naman kasi that could take advantage of that plus 10% performance increase, lalo na yung lumalaki yung memory ng mga phone, 64 gig, 128 gig.
Yep.
Parang it's just it makes the user lazy lang to clear apps, to delete files.
True.
Diba? But overall, walang malakas na app na kumakain yan.
Mm.
So that's where the AMD implementation can differ kasi for me it's the first time I've heard of it. Walang nasabi yung mga AMD counterparts na nakausap ko or walang dumapon na news sa mga
Sa
sa
PC.
sa PC on what could this mean for us.
Yeah. Mhm.
Pero ayun nga, if there's more to that, no, if there's technology involved, mga rendering processes or something, then maybe, 'di ba, we could see an innovation or a revolution in gaming, no? So parang mabibigla na lang tong mga brands, especially that Samsung is a manufacturer also of chips, 'di ba?
Mhm.
And malay natin this move could also leave Samsung supplying Exynos processors to other brands, 'di ba? So ang laking ang laking buzz nun sa market if ever with this partnership with AMD.
Yeah, true.
And yeah. So parang it's too soon to for me it's too soon to uh to reject kung ano tong implementation na ginawa ni Samsung. Maybe it's just on the surface level.
Mhm.
The second thing I've thought of dito din sa AMD implementation is of course baka kaya na din yung support for full-fledged desktop on Samsung devices, 'di ba? Kasi they've been pushing yung desktop nila yung tama ba Next? Is it
Next.
the Next pa yun? Yung desktop nila na pag desktop mode nung
Next.
Samsung flagship. Dex
Yeah.
pala, Dex.
Next. Yeah.
So yeah, maybe with the implementation nga yun nga pumasok si AMD, baka we can emulate the Windows platform, especially 'di ba the craze for the M1 plus yung Microsoft adaptation ng Windows. I
Mhm.
believe S yung version na yun. Okay, that's going technical na pero ayun na nga, there's a possibility na din 'di ba that we could finally see parang one software implementation for mobile and
Yeah.
PC.
Good.
So that's another possible trend. And ayun, let's see where kung kailan actually from this announcement I'm very excited to watch sa unveiling nila sa February 9, tama ba?
I think yes.
So yeah, I'm looking forward na to see, no, and maybe we'll do a follow-up na din kung ano meaning nitong features na 'to na pinasok,
That's true.
how deep the level of partnership is.
The
Especially consoles din hawak ni AMD with PS5 and Xbox, no?
Yeah.
So maybe this is just parang behind our backs pala ito na yung nangyayari na
Yeah.
it's another revolution. Parang revolution gusto kong gamiting term pero
Yeah.
baka may better term pa. But for
Na
now, yeah, tignan natin kung
yeah.
paano niya kung ano yung effect nun dito sa market.
To be honest, the Exynos 2200 has ray tracing
Oh.
capabilities.
Mhm.
So I think for me personally, I'm interested to see how the developers will utilize the ray tracing and how
Yep.
much does it eat away at the resources available at the smartphone,
Yes.
and then the GPU itself. But I'm definitely interested to see ray tracing on a phone, just because imagine a time when this will be the norm, and AAA titles will also come out on mobile. That would be crazy. Knowing that there's ray tracing on the Exynos 2200, do you think that changes anything, Grant, for you?
Yun nga, since you mentioned it, I believe it will boil down to the developers, 'di ba? Kasi one, how would I say this? Sakit ng loob or parang hindi siya sakit ng loob kasi I'm not really affected.
Yeah.
Pero yung yung kamot ulo ko na lang, sabihin natin kamot ulo. Yung kamot ulo ko kasi with the developers for mobile is I see them as lazy kasi we've had high refresh rate phones for years, 'di ba? I
Yeah.
think 5 years na. Kahit i-count mo yung mga 90 hertz lang, but how many games, 'di ba, have the option to enable? Oh, 'di ba, nakangiti si Emman eh.
See,
How many
for those of
games?
you for those of you listening in from the
Yes.
podcast, Emman's just smiling.
Smiling. Yeah, sobra grabe yung ngiti niya eh. So how many games do we have, 'di ba, for mobile phones that or how many mobile games do we have that can tackle the option of simply 60 hertz to 120 hertz, no? Wag na natin pag-usapan yung dynamic refresh rate na yan, no? Let's focus on enabling it, no? All in or
Yeah.
wala, 'di ba?
Yeah.
Kasi there are still games na 30 FPS pa rin, 'di ba?
That is exactly the
Yes,
problem.
may mga phone brands na mga 10K phones 120 hertz. Kaya malakas sila mag-market na okay 120 hertz yung phone namin kahit yung specs namin. Alam namin deep inside baka hindi kaya kasi itong mga developers ng games tamad i-enable yung option ng 120 hertz, 'di ba? That's why you don't see gaming benchmarks that often din eh, 'di ba? And ayun, kaya camera pa rin yung benta sa phones, which
Yeah.
for me sakto lang.
Well,
But
to
ayun
be
nga,
fair,
I have a 120 hertz phone right here pero sa menu ko lang nagagamit eh.
totoo.
Di ba?
Totoo, when you're scrolling and checking Facebook.
Sa Facebook timeline ko lang, sa Twitter ko lang, sa Instagram scrolling ko lang nagagamit. But outside from that, wala na. So, I guess it's a rant, pero hindi eh. Parang, I believe ayun nga, kung yun nga yung nangyari ngayon with ray tracing, with the AMD implementation, kung may saka ibang features, I believe developers should wake up, no? Kasi, ayun nga, the thing is, kaya possible siya na big deal na that AMD got involved with this is that for mainstream developers such as Ubisoft, Square Enix, ganyan, madali nilang dapat i-port yung ganyang features eh. Lalo na kung lalo na kung may common parang common driver or parang what's the proper term? Commonality or familiarity na sila, 'di ba? Especially yun nga, kaya nga madali mag-port ng console games and vice versa ngayon kasi nga it's AMD platform, 'di ba? Xbox S is basically a Windows machine pa rin.
Yeah.
So ayun, and with mobile getting involved, dapat mas madali na. So dapat for these developers, no, especially competitive titles, I'm looking at you, Muntun. Muntun, 'di ba? Mo ba no,
Shout out.
ano yun? Yeah, hindi seryoso kasi 'di ba?
A shout out.
Tawag doon, nagiging rant na eh.
Oh,
Kasi 'di ba yung pro players na bilis nila gumalaw na ako nai-impress ako kasi nagagawa nila yun sa mobile na ganun kaliit yung screen, yung movement nila. Kahit pa sabihin mo 3 buttons lang yan, 5 buttons lang yan, yung coordination. That's why nga yun nga ako for PC spec, for mobile specs for gaming phones, ang tinitignan ko is yung the touch sampling or yung ano pang other term? Touch sampling or yung parang touch feedback niya kasi for me, mas dun ko na measure yung responsiveness ng gaming phone versus yung 120 Hz display, 144 Hz display kasi nga hindi ka siya enabled sa
game.
sa game. Whereas kung yun yung specs sa titignan mo yung 240 Hz touch sampling, mas ramdam mo yun eh, yung responsiveness na yun ng hardware and display mismo. Hindi ka bound sa software like yun nga, yung 144 Hz na display na paper spec for games, di ba?
Yeah. May gusto
Ayun.
idagdag, Emman?
Well, ako at least nalabas ko na yung concern ko for phones. Yung parang,
ito na guys, pala yung ano nga pala, when we were talking about, by the way, no, when we were talking about this podcast, when we were planning this podcast, nag-suggest nga pala ako ng isang feed, ano ba yun? Segment na ang pangalan ay Grandsons. So you're seeing actually a sample of that now.
Yeah, that's true.
So let
Mellow
us
pa to
know,
eh.
let us know in the comments no, kung gusto nyo magkaroon
Yeah.
ng dedicated na Grants
The
rants.
Grand Strands,
Na 1
yeah.
hour mag-rant lang si Grant about everything. Ganon.
Grabe, 1
Sabihin,
hour.
sabihin niyo kung gusto yung ganon. No? Anyway, nasabi naman na ni Grant yung gist. But
Yeah.
ako
Yeah.
kasi, yun nga, I share a lot of the same sentiment. Kaya nga, it has always been a question to me as to hanggang, I mean, yeah, our hardware's getting powerful. We're getting powerful phones on paper, no?
Mhm.
Again and again every year, but are games even catching up to it? If you
Hmm.
look at ano yung popular games, ML, COD, both those two don't even support
FM.
ano, 'di ba?
Refresh rate.
Oh. So what's it para saan yun? 'Di ba?
Hmm.
Parang yeah, they keep saying kasi that it's for the future, the future. When's that future gonna come, no? Parang by the time baka
There's
ganun pa din eh. Parang hindi naman they've been saying that for so long.
'Di ba?
Ganun pa rin. No, the state is that ito pa din yung popular games and the developers are, they don't seem to be interested in adapting the changes sa hardware, no?
Ah,
So,
kasi the
diba?
main
So,
question nga diyan is how hard it is to implement,
Oo.
'di
So
ba?
parang, kaya nga parang, it's like, it's like pagdating mo sa audio, no? I will pasisegue ko sa audio, no? It's like having, it's like having, I don't know, the best amplifier in the world, the best digital audio player in the world, and you're gonna play your music on a 50 peso headphone. Ganun. Ganun siya. It's like one end of the equation is just not there yet. So, kasi ano yan equation lahat yan eh. The compatibility, the optimization, the software, the implementation, the hardware. It's like one whole entire formula that everybody needs to be, present. And unfortunately, merong missing link, no? Pero hindi pa nakaka-catch up. And then there's also the issue of optimization, 'di ba? When you look at MediaTek versus Qualcomm, no? When you look at MediaTek phones na nasa mid-range, makikita mo ang lakas ng processor niya. Pag tinignan mo yung settings niya sa COD, medium.
May comment
Kasi hindi pa kasi the issue is like what they're saying is like Qualcomm chips are getting the parang favor in terms of optimization.
Yeah.
Na-optimize sila na una bago sa MediaTek. So there's like so many things so parang ang question nga dyan is like, do we really need all that power, no? To really run these games, no? Parang yeah, it's a good point that we're getting more and more every year because that's how it's supposed to be. No? Pero sana nakaka-catch up din yung other end.
May point si Jason sa comment section. Sabi niya,
Uh,
the ML market is the majority of phone consumers and they're not appreciative of the tech.
yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
No.
ayun na lang. I guess the last analogy I will put, ano na lang, before hindi na ako kasi ayoko mag-share ng stage kay Grant. Sa kanya lang yung Grant's rants. Hindi siya Grant and Emman's rants. So,
Granted, Emman front na siya ngayon.
yeah. Yeah, it's like ganito na lang. It's like having an ICBM and attaching it to a paper boat. Yun na lang. Ganun na lang. No? That's how I see it. No? So it really hasn't caught up. The other end hasn't really caught up. And I wish that they focus more on that. Rather than just making better and better phones on paper. Diba? Ano yun naman yung kabilang side, no? That you can actually maximize that hardware with the games, no? Yun lang naman yun. It's really, if you actually think about it, it's really that simple. No?
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
I think to summarize, Grant's rants and
rants.
Emman's rants is
Pwede
that
na, pwede ba something milder na doon naman Emman's opinion. Ganun.
oh, but, but to summarize their points, is that as much as we have all these good techs, if we're not able to maximize it through games, which will most likely be the best way to maximize it, it'll be close to useless. Which I think again, going back to the Exynos 2200 and the Samsung Galaxy S22 series, is that sure it brings us it introduces rather a really good I'm guessing a customized GPU graphics, which introduces ray tracing and all this good stuff. But if there's no way to maximize it, if there's no way for the end users to actually see it, what good is it? Because come next year, come couple of years later, there'll be something new, and
Yeah.
by then it'll still
Uh,
be nothing that we don't see.
yeah.
So I think and I hope that, as Grant said, because it's an AMD platform and there are gaming developers and companies that do that already work on an AMD platform. I hope we get to see um good use of this, because what else, why else would we, because I was thinking throughout the entire discussion on the Galaxy S22 series, and as Emman put it, because it's a small, he thinks it's an incremental increase. I think the central upgrade here is the Exynos 2200, which includes the AMD GPU. But again, if you can't maximize the GPU, then what? It's
uh,
just an S21.
yeah. And to add to that, no,
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure that, well, I would guess that, launching this thing with yun nga, ray tracing,
Hmm.
they'll probably have somebody na on the gaming side,
Mhm.
no, preparing for that. No. They're probably partnering up with somebody or someone, no, with some companies, no.
Yeah.
Like no, to kasi kung ipe-present mo lang yan as if
Yep.
may ray tracing to tapos wala ka namang ipapakitang game na
Mhm.
umaandar doon, you can probably expect that they'll have some sort of developer come over and uh,
And
demonstrate.
work on it.
Demonstrate, diba? Demonstrate. But then again, ang ano naman dyan, another thing to take note is that this is Gen 1.
Yep.
Gen 1. That means you basically become a test
Beta
subject.
tester.
Uh,
Mm.
yun. Kasi
True.
lahat ng problema niyan. Since, I mean, when was the last time that a Gen 1 thing was released na hindi nagkaroon ng problema? Diba?
Yeah. It's like
Diba?
it's like the RTX when it
It's like,
first
it's
came.
like, it's like
Yes.
you're gonna be the early adopters will be, the test subjects.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sila yung magiging for the improved version next
Yeah.
year. So
So
so yun
I
yung
think tying that in with our previous topic, which is the RTX 3050 and RX 6500. Is that correct? Numbers? 6500 XT.
XT.
Yeah, X. Tying that in, I think it's gonna be like the RTX when it first came out, which again it boasted a lot of like ray tracing and all that good stuff, but there were little to no titles to feature it, so I honestly was not interested in it. So I think, like, wrapping this up, our expectations is that's going to be an incremental increase as far as hardware is concerned, aside from the Exynos 2200. But we could be definitely I'll welcomely be surprised if they'll suddenly announce a title that's gonna showcase the power
Yep.
of the new chipset.
Yep. Yep.
As Emman said. But yeah, I think that's a good you know to close things. That's the first time I've seen Grant so active on a mobile
On a mobile.
mobile
Ah,
device. If you,
paano yan, Gran?
Nagising dugo ko sa iyo.
Yung poll is like, walang nag-no. Lahat. Gusto nila talaga may Grand Strands. So,
Ano pa lang to, preview pa lang kasi this is parang this is a surprise topic for me. So paano pa kaya pag prepared ako na may script ako no nga. Ito yung mga ayaw ko.
Tapos may mga ano pa,
Ididiin ko sa utak niyo.
may mga B-roll pa na yung mga, may mga effects. Ayan.
may may comment may suggestion si John Stephen Reyes. Salamat sa suporta palagi. Emancipation of Grant's rants and his random thoughts. Ganda. Sobrang ganda. He tied it up all together. But yeah, thank you. If you guys honestly, if you guys listen to the first season of Gadget Pilipinas Live, which is on all the podcast platforms, we'll talk about all different kinds of mobile discussions and everything. And Grant will just be listening in the background. But this is the first time I've seen him this active. Thank you guys. This is fun discussions. Thank you for all that's dropped by. Wait, where is my mouse? Oh my god. Again, for those that joined the contest, we will be announcing the winners on YouTube. If you guys enjoyed tonight's discussions, check us out on the audio version, which will be coming out soon on your preferred podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell on our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're not subscribed, shame on you. Dala ko lang. Loko lang. We love you. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. When Emman mentioned it earlier, TikTok, una ko naisip TikTok yung platform. Akala ko sasayaw si Samsung sa TikTok. Yeah. So yeah, thank you guys for dropping by. Is there anything that our fans should be waiting for? Emman and Grant. Emman first, I guess. May dapat ba silang abangan sa'yo?
Well, so far, well, yeah. I just ordered a Nanoleaf wooden hexagons kanina. So it should be arriving this week, hopefully. Depende kay Lazada. But we'll have I plan to do a video on that, no.
Yun, no?
Unboxing and maybe a full review. Quick review, no. So yeah, and the Redmi Note 11 series, we're gonna have a three-way comparison. Yeah.
Ooh.
Between the three Redmi Note 11 devices. We're just waiting for the units to arrive. And a few more reviews coming your way. Infinix Note 11S, I believe. Yeah. And yun, so far, puro reviews. No, you can watch out. As for my end, puro reviews. Yan. So, ikaw, Grant.
Okay. Ayun nga, for those watching on stream on YouTube, kita nyo sa likod ko, we have the ROG Strix RTX 3050, Ino 3D RTX 3050, and Sapphire RX 6500 XT. I'll be working on those for their full reviews. And of course, following the full reviews, since we have more budget cards, expect more budget builds from us. No, so hindi lang tayo mag-i-stick sa RTX 3050 and Intel. Let's also explore different combinations. No, so RTX 3050 plus AMD. Let's see. Syempre ibang budget tiering na yon, and of course RX 6500 XT plus Intel, and of course RX 6500 XT plus AMD. So it's very exciting then for the new budget builders out there. For those looking to upgrade naman, be on the lookout na lang for discounts. Yun nga, 2,000 off, 3,000 off yung mga sinabi natin.
Mhm.
And yeah, I guess that's about it for me. And for the rants part, nako, kung may gusto kayong controversial topic, or kung if you have something of basta tech nature, ha, baka mamaya kung anong issue ng mga celebrity yung ibigay nyo, yung kay Constantino ba yun, sa kay Ryan Bang, yung latest kong nakikita. Baka kunan nyo ako ng rant doon. Pero yun nga, tech side kung pwede, pero kung gusto nyo ng inputs about ang tawag doon, about ano yun, about love life, personal page na, wag na sa Gadget Pilipinas. Kasi kaya nga Gadget
Kung
Pilipinas,
meron silang Grant,
hindi
kung meron
Love Life
silang-
Pilipinas, di ba?
Kung meron silang Grant, kung meron silang mga
Yeah.
basic question.
Yeah, actually for
PC building, no?
yeah.
For
For
how often do I have to clean my PC, mga ganun.
yes.
Dapat ba pag may extension ako, kailangan ko punuin, o magtitira akong dalawa, mga ganun. Yung mga common myth, no? About,
Yeah, for those types of questions.
What do they do if they have those types of questions, Grant?
Oh, excuse me, sorry.
What will they do if they have those types of questions?
Just message our page,
Yeah.
Facebook page at Gadget Pilipinas, or any of our social media platforms. Ihabol nyo sa comments dito. Of course, makikita namin yan. PM din on our personal profile. Kayo, if you're itching to ask it, no, na especially kung wala yan sa Google, please sana yung wala sa Google, or yung hirap kayong kumuha ng sagot kay Google, no, baka meron yan kay Grant.
How much?
Ay, pag how much, go to our partner stores.
All right.
Pero ayun nga, if may yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if may rant, binasa ko sa yung comment sa YouTube, kung may rant ba kayo sa tech, or kung makikita ka kahit anong anomalya sa tech, isumbong nyo ka sa Rihanna.
All right. For me, I'll be reviewing my first laptop. Abangan nyo lang kung ano yun. Hindi ko na sabihin, but that I'm actually excited for that because I've never done a laptop review. That will be coming in around mid-Feb. So just to, wait for it on gadgetpilipinas.net. If you guys want to check out the news that we've kind of brushed up upon, you guys can check it out on gadgetpilipinas.net. And every Thursday, you can Mr. Gian Viterbo will release WIT, which is Weekly in Tech. Week in Tech, yeah. Week in Tech, which comes out every Thursday. He gives up a good wrap up of the news for the week. If you guys haven't followed us, do follow us. If subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube, like us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. That's it for tonight. Fun discussion. Good night, guys. Bye bye. I love ya.